I don't normally do this kind of review where I'm just glazing over a product the entire time. That is fire. Hey guys, welcome back to the Workbench. So I've got a little bit of an interesting review for you guys today. And no, it's not the Linus Tech Tips backpack. Yes, I know I'm a bit of a simp. It's actually what's on the back of the Linus Tech Tips backpack. This guy right here. This thing blew me away. I'll be honest, when I got the request from Sofirn to review their new ST2 flashlight, I couldn't really at first think of a way that I could integrate this into one of my videos. And I thought about it a little bit more, saw some of the specs on here, and because this has a very powerful UV light built into it, on top of some other features that we'll talk about here in a second, my plan was to show this in some kind of a board repair using a UV resin and using this guy to cure it. Most of the time I try and fit all of my videos into some kind of a project. There's a lot of stuff for me to do around the shop here, and so to kind of kill two birds with one stone, usually when these companies reach out, I say, yep, sure, this is how I'm gonna do it. Sofirn didn't really ask for a review of their product, they just asked for a usage of it, and of course if I could give some opinions, that would always be nice. But I really wanted to turn this into a review because I'm a little blown away by this guy. Let me start off by saying I've been building and working with high-powered LED flashlights for quite some time. Back in the early aughties, I was building my own flashlights by getting Cree diodes and putting them in with voltage regulating boards, popping in some 18650 cells, and making flashlights that at the time I thought were really, really bright. And these days you can get really, really bright. I'm recording this right on the heels of DIY Perks bringing out the brightest LED in the world flashlight. Obviously you can get really, really bright flashlights, especially if you invest a ton of money into it. This was more of an everyday carry, basic flashlight, and really I didn't have high hopes for it. It looked cool. In the initial email that they sent me, it looked like a pretty neat little flashlight, and it kind of reminded me of the old style Star Trek flashlights they used to wear on their wrist but could also carry around. Again, kind of a nerd. But the main feature that I wanted it for was the super bright UV light that's built into it. While it is super bright, I didn't expect the main LED to surprise me quite as much as it does. Before we get into what surprised me about this, let's just take a look at the unit. This is a chonky flashlight. So it's got a full aluminum body. On one side here, you've got your toggle switch, which allows you to switch it between its UV mode, regular flashlight, and a red light for if you're kind of like doing outdoor wilderness stuff. Animals aren't quite as sensitive to red light, so because of that, usually you can get away with shining this on wildlife and them not getting freaked out as much. Just found out that this is actually a Hall effect switch, meaning there's just a little magnet on the other side of this that's interacting with a circuit board inside of the unit. So there's nothing to wear out here. Up here, you'll also notice that it has your little 90-degree marker, and that's because this does have different indents all throughout its sway here, but it goes all the way down to 90 degrees and back up to full flat. It doesn't go back the other way, it only goes this one way, but really, I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't be able to just flip it around, and more than likely, if you have this clipped onto something, you're not going to be kind of shining it back at yourself. At least you won't want to after I show you what it can do here in a minute. On the back, you've got a standard belt clip, very heavy duty. This, I believe, is steel. Yeah, there we go. So this is going to be your spring steel there. Holds on very well and clips onto my backpack quite well. And then your first sign of how powerful this thing is this guy right here, where it says hot, along with, I believe, just the serial number for the device. This is a pre-production unit, but I expect that this is going to be very close to what you're going to buy yourself, if you do in fact want one, because I have the packaging here and it looks pretty well finished. One thing I did have trouble with when I got this guy out of the box, just to be completely transparent, was the battery cells that came in it. These do appear to be pretty much no-name battery cells. They just say 18650, 3800 milliamp hour on them and no other real markings. When I got the device in, it originally would not charge. The light on the side here, and I'll try and throw a video up that I took of it. I tried to take it in slow motion because it was so fast flashing that my camera wasn't picking it up right. but it was flashing between red and green, and that wasn't anywhere in the manual. There was nothing that said red and green flashing as far as an error or charging or what have you. So I wasn't getting anything out of it, and the battery was to the point where turning it on to full brightness for just a few seconds was killing it. At that point, I of course needed to take it apart to find out what was going on. The representative that I had from Sofirn was on vacation, so I couldn't reach out to them directly. And while it does say in the instructions not to take this apart, that it's not user serviceable, I'm afraid it actually is. And sorry, Sofirn, I'm going to kind of spill your secrets here. Inside of this unit, when opened up, is actually two 18650 batteries. Of course, these two that you see here. Getting these out, they didn't appear to be dead. They were actually at 4.09 volts, which is plenty of voltage left in them. They didn't seem to be too far off of each other as far as their charge level, so it didn't seem like it was a BMS fault or anything like that. But I believe what was actually happening here is that these batteries are having trouble maintaining the full output that the LED in this guy requires. I do plan on testing that, but I'm not going to have it ready for this video. So if you're interested in seeing the difference between these 18650s and the ones that I put back in here, go ahead and leave a comment and I'll be happy to explore that a little bit further. I did put some good LG INR something, I'll put the model number up here if I remember to, batteries in here so that I could get it to fully charge, and it did at that point fully charge, and I haven't had any trouble with it since. It charges just fine using both fast chargers and just regular USB. It says inside of the booklet here that it should take about 4 hours to charge on a 5-volt battery charger. I had this plugged into one of my laptop chargers, which doesn't even put out 5 volts. It does do USB PD, and it charged much faster that way. So while it doesn't say that in the manual, I believe that there is actually some PD logic inside of this guy. Up top here, the last part that we really haven't looked at, bottom doesn't really have anything for you except for those 2 screw holes. You'll take those out to get access to the batteries. Something I really like about that is that you can replace the batteries. There's too many of these EDC batteries that use like pouch cells that are soldered in and you can't replace them. So this again, I think is going to really last me a good long time. Up on the top here though, you've got 3 different reflectors, and these 3 different reflector housings house the different LEDs. Off the bat, if I just hit the power button here, we're just going to get a flash of that primary LED because I actually have the LED blocked. It has a lock function on here. Inside of the manual, it said that was so that it doesn't automatically turn on while it's like in a bag and potentially burn something. It said that it was powerful enough to burn something, and I didn't really buy that, but yeah, maybe it gets hot and they don't want it overheating, sure. I found out though over this past weekend that their warning is actually to be heated, but let me not get too far ahead of myself. To unlock the LED, what we have to do is press this power button 4 times, and that will turn it on at the last setting that you had it on. Nothing super impressive about that so far. Basic LED. If we flip it over to the UV side, you'll see that we get a UV LED, which shows up a little bit. In fact, it actually makes the phosphor on the main LED glow a little bit. So because of that, you can see inside of that well a little bit more. But our UV LED does come on. If we press and hold the button here, it'll switch into its low power mode. And then flipping it back the other way, we get our red LED. And again, pressing and holding here actually goes through a full brightness range. You'll see that is full brightness, very bright. And then pushing it and holding it down goes back down. You can stop at any point, or you can double click to get between the 2 settings. Pushing once turns it off. Back to this main LED, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to hold this up to my camera as I turn this on because I'm afraid of what it might actually do to the camera image sensor. When I say this thing is bright, I'm not kidding, guys. Shining this off of a white box in front of me about 3 feet caused me to temporarily blind myself. I could see dots for a good hour. This is by far the brightest single LED flashlight I've ever seen. To put this in perspective, guys, I currently have a 200 watt softbox right up here. I've got a 40 watt LED panel on this side. I've got 4 40 watt LED light bars above me. And I've got a 60 watt LED just main bulb for my garage chilling right up top there. I can turn all of them off except for the main one. I have a little bit of light spill coming from the garage door, and I know this isn't going to be a great example because the camera is going to try and adjust for the light output in here. But I want to just turn this LED on. Again, we're at low power right now. And then I want to go ahead and press and hold and turn it up. What you'll notice once I do that, and it's actually hot coming off of the LED. My face is getting warm as if I was looking into the sun right now, and I have my eyes closed because I literally can't look at this thing. I'm getting blinded through my eyelids right now. This is, again, the brightest LED I have ever held. It will blind you very easily, and it has a couple other tricks up its sleeve. Let's get some lights on, though, to show you that. I'm really hopeful I'm going to be able to replicate what this did this weekend. I haven't tried it again because I was kind of surprised at what it did, and I was at some family's house and they said, please don't burn down my house. This LED, again, they tell you to put it into that locked mode before you throw it into like a backpack or a purse. And the reason why is this. That is smoke. And if I turn the LED off, you may be able to already see some burn marks on this paper. Let's go a little longer here. That is fire. So that was enough to burn right through that paper, and it absolutely will catch fire. I'm trying my best not to burn my workshop down. I do have a fire extinguisher, but it's way over there, and yeah, I don't want to see what that would turn into long term. Again, extremely impressive. I need to clean the lens off. It got some smoke on it, and it hopefully didn't mess it up. It does appear to have a glass lens. I haven't tried to break it or scratch it, but it does appear to have a glass lens, so it's relatively easy to clean off if you end up needing to. The last thing that I wanted to test on this guy before I suggested it to any of my viewers was going to be that UV LED. I wanted to test that UV LED and make sure that it wasn't doing anything harmful. Now, UV light comes in a few different spectrums. Your standard UV A and B is what you generally get from like the sun outdoors. Standard ultraviolet light, and while it does react with certain pigments, it's generally not dangerous outside of the fact that it can burn you if you have long exposure. UVC is a spectrum of light that actually has the ability to disrupt DNA molecules. Shining UVC light onto a person for a long amount of time can actually cause the DNA in that part of their body, skin, internal, what have you, to actually change to a point where it can necrotize, turn to cancer, or actually just cause them serious health side effects. Generally, UVC is not found in LEDs. LEDs are finely tuned for a very specific frequency of light, but nonetheless, I wanted to triple check and make sure this wasn't going to be anything that caused any trouble. So I picked up one of these UVC testers just to be 100% sure. Shining my UV light on it, we see immediately that ultraviolet here does appear, which tells us that it does have UVA and B sensitivity, but because we don't get anything inside of this UVC box, it's not putting out that dangerous style UV. With that said, it is putting out a lot of UV. It has a very powerful LED in here. It comes up in the extreme range of UV exposure. And this UV LED is quite powerful. It actually heats this device up similarly to how the main LED does. That means that you do want to exercise some caution with it. I wouldn't suggest giving yourself a suntan by holding it over certain parts of your body that aren't tan enough. But overall, it should be safe enough to use in everyday usage without any kind of trouble. That brings me back to what I will be using this for. Really, this has replaced every other everyday carry flashlight that I've ever had. I have quite a few, some that are keychain size that are really brighter than they should be, some that are a little bit larger even than this one, but are easy to work on and serviced by using just regular 18650s. But really, this is it, guys. This thing is brighter than I would ever need it to be, unless I'm flying in an airplane and need to shoot it down to the ground, which frankly, this might even do that. I'm going to try and include some outdoor shots this evening, just showing what it looks like. But again, on camera, it's really hard to express how bright this is, even in comparison to other devices, just because the camera is going to try and compensate for that difference in light. But honestly, for the price, it's a phenomenal value in the LED everyday carry flashlight range. As I took this apart, I did notice waterproofing gaskets along the bottom. I didn't take the top element apart because really all you're going to have up here is some basic electronics, and there wasn't any reason for me to do so. And I really like this thing. I'm going to end up keeping it and using it. So because of that, I expect that there is waterproofing pretty much all around. It has an IPX6 rating, so it's not going to take a full submersion. It's really just meant to be for a basic water intrusion, like if you're out in the rain using it and things like that. But it's built like a tank. I don't expect this is going to be something that breaks on me anytime soon. It feels like it has enough heft to offset the heat coming out of that LED, and that LED is being driven at almost 10 amps, so it puts off a lot of heat. But overall, it seems like an awesome flashlight. It has the ability to be serviced. You can put in new 18650s when the ones in here go bad. It charges up using USB-C, so it's up to today's standards. It's brighter than anything I've used. Frankly, it's probably brighter than this 200-watt floodlight that I have up top here. And the ability for it to mix between different types of light makes it useful for all sorts of exploring. If you like going out and looking for scorpions out in the desert, it's got you. If you want to go and look for crabs out on the beach, it's got you there as well, and you don't have to worry about disturbing the turtles that might be nesting as well. So again, guys, I don't normally do this kind of review where I'm just glazing over a product the entire time. But they sent this to me with no expectation. The only thing was, hey, can you put it out around the time we're launching this product? For a pre-release product, with the exception of the issue I had with the original batteries, which they already know about and said they're going to look into their battery supplier, find out what happened there. This thing's definitely a buy for me. It's launching on March 4th. I'm not going to have this video out probably until the 5th, but the price that I'm seeing on their website right now, at least their introductory price, is $62.99. And again, for what you're getting out of this, considering you're getting the 3 flashlights in one, something that can be serviced, something that is water resistant, and it's chunky, guys, I expect that's going to be something that sells pretty quickly. Check out Sofirn's website if you want to grab one of these up for yourself. I'll have the link in the description. If they give me any kind of a coupon code, I'll definitely throw that down there as well. We're less than 65 bucks. Frankly, for less than 100 bucks, this thing's really a steal, and I'd say go grab one. That's going to be it, guys, for the Sofirn ST2. The ST1 seemed to be an awesome flashlight based on every review I can find on it. This thing has really surprised the crap out of me. If you like this kind of review, again, a little different than what I've done in the past, go ahead and leave a like and a subscribe down in the comment section. That tells me what I need to do next. And if you have any advice on other flashlights maybe I should look into, is there something that you think would maybe knock the socks off this thing? Or is there something you want to see me do maybe more in depth on a future review? Leave that down in the comments as well. I try to respond to pretty much everyone that I can get to, and it really helps me know what direction to go with for the channel. Thanks so much, guys. That's going to be it for me. See you in the next one.